The stars shimmered against the blackness of space as Captain Susan Miller gazed through the viewport of her office on Luna Base. Earth hung like a blue jewel in the distance. 5 years ago, she would have found the view peaceful. Now, it filled her with dread. Susan sipped her coffee and reviewed the data on her tablet one more time. The numbers didn't lie. The aliens were planning something, and it wasn't good. The day the Galactic Council ships appeared in Earth's orbit had changed everything. Giant silver vessels that seemed to bend light around them had simply appeared one day, broadcasting messages of peace and friendship in every human language. They called themselves the Galactic Council, a union of 47 spacefaring species who had lived in harmony for thousands of years. Most of humanity celebrated first contact, aliens who wanted to share technology, medicine, and knowledge with Earth. The council representatives looked almost human, tall, with smooth blue-tinted skin and 6 fingers on each hand. They spoke softly and smiled often. They brought gifts, cures for several diseases, clean energy technology, and promises of faster-than-light travel. But Susan had her doubts from the beginning. Something about their story didn't add up. "Captain Miller, Lieutenant Davis is here to see you," announced the intercom. "Send him in." Alan Davis walked in, his normally calm face tight with worry. He carried his own tablet and didn't bother sitting down. "I found something, Captain. You were right." Susan gestured for him to continue. "I was analyzing the deep space probe data like you asked. The records the Council gave us about explored space don't match what our probes detected." Alan placed his tablet next to hers and brought up a star map. "See these systems? The Council says they're uninhabited natural preserves, but our probes detected artificial signals from at least 3 of them before they went silent." Susan frowned. "Could be old automated systems from dead civilizations." "That's what I thought too, but look at this." Alan zoomed in on one planet. "This is from Probe 7 just before it stopped transmitting. Those are cities, Captain. And based on the atmospheric analysis, they were inhabited recently. Maybe still are." Susan felt a chill. The Council had claimed humanity was the first new spacefaring species they'd discovered in over 500 years. "There's more." Alan swiped to a new screen. "I managed to access some restricted files during the last diplomatic exchange. The Council representatives don't know I copied this." The video showed a green planet from orbit. Suddenly, bright flashes appeared on the surface. The video zoomed in to show what looked like Council ships firing weapons at simple structures below. "When was this?" Susan asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "File date shows it was 93 years ago. The technology level of the species being attacked looks pre-industrial, like early 1800s Earth." Susan stood up and paced the small office. "So the Galactic Council isn't what they claim to be. They're not peaceful. They're conquering or wiping out other civilizations. It looks that way, and Earth might be next. We've been accepting their technology too eagerly, letting them place observation posts throughout our solar system." Susan stopped pacing. "Those aren't observation posts. They're weapons platforms. They're positioning for an attack." Alan nodded, grimly. "Their technology is still far beyond ours, even with what they've shared. If they decide to strike, we wouldn't stand a chance in a direct fight." Susan stared back at the Earth through her viewport. Billions of people going about their lives unaware of the danger. World leaders were busy planning the next phase of technology sharing with the Council. Earth's first faster-than-light ship was being built with Council guidance. "We need to tell Admiral Harrison right away," she said. "And we need to be smart about this. If the Council realizes we know their true purpose, they might attack immediately." They spent the next hour gathering all their evidence. When they finally sent their secure message to Admiral Harrison, Susan felt a weight lift from her shoulders. At least now someone else knew. 3 days later, Susan and Alan stood in Admiral Harrison's secure underground office on Earth. The walls were lined with special material that blocked all signals in or out. Harrison had dark circles under his eyes. He hadn't slept since receiving their message. "I've confirmed your findings with other sources," said Harrison, "and added some of my own. The Council ships have weapons systems they've been hiding from us. Their cultural exchanges have been mapping our defense capabilities." "What do we do, sir?" asked Susan. Alert the world governments? Harrison shook his head. Not yet. Mass panic would only trigger their attack sooner. We need time to prepare. Prepare how? Alan asked. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Not in all ways, said Harrison. They've been careful about what they share, but our scientists have been studying everything. We've made breakthroughs they don't know about. Harrison brought up a holographic display showing schematics for new weapon systems and ships. We're going to build a silent resistance. On the surface, we'll continue friendly relations. Behind the scenes, we'll prepare for their betrayal. Susan looked at the plans with growing hope. How long do we have? Unknown. Could be months, could be years. The Council seems to take its time, studying species before deciding their fate. And what about other potential victims out there? Alan asked, pointing to the star map. One problem at a time, Lieutenant, said Harrison. First, we ensure Earth's survival, then perhaps we can think about saving others. Susan nodded firmly. What do you need from us, Admiral? Captain Miller, I'm putting you in charge of our intelligence gathering. We need to know everything about the Council, their weaknesses, their true intentions, timeline for attack. Lieutenant Davis, you'll head a new cyber warfare division. If they have data networks, I want you in them. As Susan and Alan left the meeting, they looked up at the night sky. The stars no longer seemed peaceful. Somewhere up there, the Council was watching, planning, but now, Earth was watching back. For the first time since discovering the truth, Susan felt something other than dread. She felt purpose. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would fight back, and the Council would learn that humans were not so easy to deceive. 3 years passed since Captain Susan Miller and Lieutenant Alan Davis discovered the truth about the Galactic Council. To anyone watching, Earth had become a model member of galactic society. Human representatives sat on council committees. Earth businesses traded with alien markets. Thousands of humans worked on council stations across the galaxy. The council representatives continued to smile and share carefully selected technologies. Behind this peaceful mask, Earth prepared for war. Olivia Wilson wiped sweat from her forehead as she worked inside the reactor maintenance tunnel on Harmony Station, the massive council hub that served as the center of galactic government. On paper, she was just the chief engineer supervising routine maintenance. In reality, every repair mission was a chance to map the station's systems and plant hidden devices. Chief Wilson, are you nearly finished? The voice belonged to Krell, her Galactic Council supervisor. Almost done, Olivia called back. Just finishing the calibration. Her fingers quickly attached a tiny device to the power conduit. The device was special, made with Earth technology but disguised to look like standard Council components. It would record power fluctuations and create a hidden access point to the station's energy grid. When she emerged from the tunnel, Krell nodded approvingly. Your efficiency is noted, human. The Council appreciates your species' attention to detail. Olivia smiled. Happy to help. We humans take pride in our work. As she walked back to her quarters, Olivia's smile faded. 2 years of work, and she had only managed to map about 60% of the station's critical systems. But Admiral Harrison's orders were clear. Be thorough, be patient, leave no traces. Earth would only get one chance when the time came. Meanwhile, on a medical research station orbiting Jupiter, Dr. Peter Johnson carefully examined tissue samples from various Council species. His official work involved adapting alien medical technology for human use. His real mission was studying Council, biology for weaknesses. Fascinating, he muttered to himself. The cell structure of the Council's ruling species had unique properties. Their neural systems relied on specific ion channels that humans didn't have. He made notes in a special tablet that stored data in a way the Council couldn't detect. Soft chime indicated someone entering his lab. Peter quickly switched screens. Dr. Johnson, your progress report is due, said Dr. Morale, his Council colleague. Of course. I've completed the adaptation of the tissue regeneration technology for human cellular structures. I'll send the report within the hour. After Dr. Morale left, Peter returned to his secret work. The ruling Council species had remarkable abilities, but also unique vulnerabilities. If their neural ion channels were disrupted in a specific way, they would be temporarily paralyzed without permanent harm. It wasn't much, but it was something Earth could use. On Mars, what appeared to be a civilian spaceport bustled with activity. Cargo ships arrived and departed regularly, carrying goods, between Earth and the rest of the galaxy. Deep beneath the surface, however, Commander Richard Evans supervised a very different operation. "How are production numbers this week?" he asked his deputy. "Ahead of schedule, sir. The new quantum phase prototypes are testing at 97% efficiency." Evans nodded with satisfaction. The quantum phase weapons were Earth's greatest achievement, technology reverse-engineered from Council designs but modified in ways their allies couldn't detect. The weapons didn't destroy targets in the conventional sense. Instead, they shifted them partially out of normal spacetime, effectively removing them from the battle without killing anyone. "The Council still believes this is just a shipping hub?" Evans asked. "Yes, sir. Their inspection teams never detect anything unusual. The shielding technology works perfectly." Evans stared at the production line where Earth's secret fleet was being assembled. Not massive warships. The Council would notice those, but smaller, faster vessels built for stealth and surprise. When the time came, they would deploy from hidden locations throughout the solar system and beyond. In a luxurious diplomatic center on the Council homeworld, Lieutenant Sharon Martinez smiled and raised her glass at a gathering of alien dignitaries. As a junior diplomatic aide, she was invited to many social functions. While she made small talk about cultural exchange programs, her enhanced memory recorded everything she saw and heard. Sharon had spent months identifying potential allies among the Council species. Her research suggested not all members were equal in the Council. Some, like the insectoid Zix and the aquatic Morcellans, showed subtle signs of reluctance during discussions about Earth. They seemed to participate in Council activities out of obligation rather than belief. During the reception, Sharon found herself speaking with a Zix representative named Click Tai. "Your adaptation to Council protocols has been most efficient, human," said Click Tai, mandibles clicking softly. "We're eager to learn," replied Sharon, "though some aspects of Council history remain unclear to us." Click Tai's antenna twitched in a pattern Sharon had learned to recognize as caution. "History is often written by those in power," the Zix said quietly. "My species joined the Council 800 years ago. We too found some aspects unclear before Sharon could respond. A high-ranking Council elder approached. Click Tai's demeanor changed instantly. "We were just discussing the remarkable speed of human integration," the Zix said cheerfully. Sharon nodded. "Yes, we're grateful for the Council's guidance." Later that night, Sharon encrypted her observations and sent them through a secure channel, disguised as routine diplomatic correspondence. The Zix and possibly others might not be willing allies of the Council after all. They might be victims just as Earth would be if the Council's plan succeeded. Back on Earth, Admiral Harrison reviewed the reports from his operatives. Susan Miller, now a Commodore, stood at his side. "It's happening exactly as we feared," Harrison said, "but they don't suspect that we know." "How much time do we have?" Susan asked. 6 months, maybe less. Council activity around Jupiter has increased. They're clearly concerned about the energy signatures from our test sites." Susan frowned. "We need more time. The quantum phase fleet isn't ready. Then we need a distraction." Harrison brought up a holographic map of the solar system. "We'll create a cover story about cultural celebration rituals that require unusual energy outputs. It should buy us another few months." As they discussed details, both knew the final countdown had begun. Earth's silent resistance would soon need to become very loud indeed. The future of humanity depended on it. Grixal stood by the window of his private quarters looking down at the Earth below. The blue planet rotated slowly, clouds swirling across its surface like white paint in water. After 2 years of living among humans as a Council observer, he had grown to appreciate their world's beauty, and more troublingly, he had grown to admire the humans themselves. This was not supposed to happen. Council observers maintained emotional distance from the species they studied. It was the first rule of his training. But humans were different. They created art that moved him. music that stirred feelings he didn't know he had. They showed kindness to strangers and fought fiercely to protect those they loved. They questioned everything, even their own beliefs. Grixal turned away from the window and sat at his desk. His six-fingered hands hovered over the control panel. What he was about to do would break every oath he had taken as a member of the Galactic Council. If discovered, he would face execution. But after seeing the latest transmission from the Council elders, he couldn't remain silent. The harvest protocol for Earth had been scheduled. 6 months from now, the elders would trigger electromagnetic pulses across the planet, disabling human technology before deploying harvesters to collect biological and mineral resources. Billions would die. A vibrant, creative species would be reduced to specimens and slaves. The Council's analysis was clear. Humans were advancing too quickly. If allowed to develop independently, they would reach technological parity with the Council within a century. The elders couldn't allow that. Grixal made his decision. He encoded a message and sent it through a secure channel that bypassed Council monitoring systems. The recipient was Dr. Nancy White, a NASA scientist he had met during cultural exchange meetings. She was one of the few humans who had asked questions about Council history that revealed a sharp, suspicious mind. If anyone would believe him, she would. 3 days later, Nancy White sat in a secure room deep beneath the Pentagon. Her hands shook as she placed a data drive on the table. Across from her sat Admiral Harrison and Commodore Susan Miller. "The Council observer contacted me privately," Nancy explained. "He risked his life to send us this." Admiral Harrison picked up the drive cautiously. "And you trust this alien?" "I've worked with Grixal for over a year. He's different from the others. He asks questions about our art, our music. He seems genuinely interested in understanding us, not just studying us." Susan frowned. "It could be a trap." "I don't think so," replied Nancy. "Why send detailed invasion plans if they want to trick us? They already have the advantage." Harrison inserted the drive into a secure computer that wasn't connected to any network. The screen filled with data. Technical specifications for Council weapons, deployment schedules, invasion strategies. "My God," whispered Harrison. "They plan to hit us with EMPs first, then deploy these harvester ships. According to this, they've done this to dozens of other species." Susan studied the data closely. "The scale of this. We can't possibly defend Earth against this kind of attack." "There's more," said Nancy. Grixal included information about the Council's internal structure. Most Council species don't know about the harvesting. Only the elders and their direct servants participate. The rest are kept in the dark, told that extinct species died from natural disasters or their own wars. Harrison looked up sharply. "So, the Council isn't unified? There are potential allies?" "Possibly," Nancy nodded. Grixal mentioned 2 species specifically, the Zix and the Morcellans. He believes they suspect the truth but are too afraid to act alone. Susan remembered Lieutenant Martinez's reports about the Zix ambassador's strange behavior. Things were starting to make sense. Harrison stood up and began pacing. "This changes everything. Our defensive strategy won't work against these numbers, but if we could expose the Elders' deception to the rest of the Council, we'd still need to demonstrate that we're powerful enough to be worth listening to," said Susan. "Otherwise, we're just another victim crying for help." "The quantum phase weapons," Harrison said quietly. "Evans reports they're nearly ready. Instead of trying to defend Earth against overwhelming odds, what if we take the fight directly to them?" Susan's eyes widened. "Attack the Council's core worlds? That's incredibly risky." "Not their worlds," said Harrison, pointing to the schematics on the screen. "Their command structure, their communication hubs. If we can expose the Elders' lies while demonstrating unexpected strength." For the next week, the highest levels of Earth's military leadership worked around the clock, developing a new strategy. Captain Greg Foster was recalled from his deep space mission to lead the combat operations. Dr. Peter Johnson accelerated his work on the biological countermeasure for the Elder species. In her diplomatic role, Lieutenant Sharon Martinez began making subtle contact with potential allies among other council species, particularly focusing on the Zix and Morcellans. She used coded language and cultural references that council monitoring systems wouldn't understand. On Mars, Commander Evans pushed his teams to complete the quantum phase fleet ahead of schedule. They worked day and night, knowing that every hour mattered. Admiral Harrison called the operation Watchful Eye. Its goal was not just survival but revolution, to break the Elders' control and establish a new, genuinely cooperative galactic community. Grixal continued his official duties, careful not to attract attention. He met with Dr. White only once. More, in a park where council surveillance was minimal. "Will your people be ready?" he asked quietly as they walked past a children's playground. Nancy watched the children playing. "We're working on it. But we need to know one more thing. Will other council species stand with us if we expose the Elders?" Grixal's expression was hard to read, but his voice carried hope. Many have suspected the truth for centuries but feared to act alone. If humans can prove themselves powerful enough to challenge the Elders and survive, yes, I believe many will stand with you. And if we fail? Grixal looked up at the clear blue sky. Then the harvesters will come as they have to so many worlds before. But humans are different. I've studied your history. You've faced extinction before and survived. If any species can break this cycle, it's yours. As Nancy returned to her lab that evening, she looked at the stars appearing in the darkening sky. Somewhere up there, humanity's fate was being decided. But for the first time since learning about the Council's true nature, she felt something like hope. The coming fight would be desperate, but humans wouldn't face it alone. 1 month before the planned harvest of Earth, the humans were ready. 200 stealth ships waited in hidden positions throughout Council space. Each vessel carried Earth's most elite soldiers, equipped with weapons that no Council species knew humans possessed. On board the lead ship, Captain Greg Foster reviewed the final mission details with his crew. "This is not about revenge," he reminded them. "Our goal is liberation, not just for Earth, but for all species deceived by the Elders. Remember your training. We disable, we don't destroy unless absolutely necessary." Across the galaxy, human operatives moved into position. Each person knew their role in Operation Watchful Eye. They had trained for this moment for years. Now, everything depended on perfect timing and coordination. On Harmony Station, engineer Olivia Wilson entered the main power control room for her regular inspection. Her council supervisor had long since stopped accompanying her on these routine visits. Olivia worked quickly, activating the hidden devices she had planted throughout the station. These would create temporary disruptions in security systems when the time came. In his lab, Dr. Peter Johnson completed the final test of his biological countermeasure. The engineered virus affected only the Elder species' unique neural pathways. It wouldn't kill them, just temporarily paralyze them, preventing them from giving orders or activating defenses. Johnson loaded the virus into specially designed delivery systems and sent them to the deployment teams. On Mars, Commander Evans stood in the control center of what the Council still believed was a civilian spaceport. His team had spent the last week loading the quantum-shifted transmission beacons onto small, fast ships. These beacons would bypass Council communication blocks, broadcasting evidence of the Elders' centuries of deception directly to every Council species simultaneously. Lieutenant Sharon Martinez worked tirelessly, using her diplomatic connections to spread coded warnings to her network of Council moderates. Her message was simple, but powerful. This is not an attack on you. This is liberation from those who have enslaved us all. When the time comes, escape from military targets. In orbit around Earth, Grixal received an encrypted message from Dr. Nancy White. "Thank you for your courage. Find safety when the lights flicker." He understood. When the human operation began, he would need to be away from Council ships and stations. Admiral Harrison and Commodore Susan Miller coordinated everything from a secure bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The plan was incredibly complex with thousands of moving parts. If any single element failed, the entire operation could collapse. "All teams report ready," Susan told Harrison, As the final status updates came in, Harrison nodded grimly. Then, we begin at 600 tomorrow. Send the authorization codes. The next morning, as council stations throughout the galaxy began their day cycles, the human attack began, not with explosions or direct assaults, but with subtlety and precision. On Harmony Station, Olivia Wilson activated her network of hidden devices. Throughout the massive structure, security systems flickered and failed. Monitoring screens went dark. Communication channels filled with static. The council guards rushed to restore order, not realizing this was just the first step. In that moment of confusion, Dr. Johnson's virus was released through the station's air filtration system. Within minutes, the elder representatives began to collapse. Their neural systems temporarily shut down. Lower-ranking council officials looked on in confusion, not understanding what was happening. Across council space, Captain Foster's stealth fleet emerged from hiding. Using the quantum phase technology, they didn't need to fire weapons at most targets. Instead, they projected energy fields that temporarily shifted council defense systems partially out of normal space-time. The massive weapons simply stopped working, appearing ghostly and transparent. The human ships moved quickly, securing critical communication hubs on 17 council worlds simultaneously. Council military responded with predictable force, sending massive dreadnoughts to protect their core worlds. But as the giant ships approached Mars, where they believed the human attack was being coordinated, Commander Evans activated the quantum phase array hidden beneath the surface. The effect was immediate and shocking. The Council dreadnoughts didn't explode or break apart. Instead, they shifted partially out of phase with normal reality. The ships remained visible, but took on a ghostly, transparent appearance. Their weapons and engines no longer functioned. The crews found themselves trapped in a state where they could observe but not interact with the physical universe. The demonstration sent shockwaves through Council space. Humanity possessed technology the Elders had claimed was, theoretically, impossible. As Council military forces fell into confusion, the quantum-shifted transmission beacons activated. On thousands of worlds across the galaxy, regular Council communications were interrupted. In their place, beings of all species saw the same images. Secret Council records showing the systematic destruction of developing civilizations, the harvesting of resources and populations, and the lies told to maintain control. The broadcast included a message in all Council languages. The Elders have deceived us all. For millennia, they have eliminated potential competitors and maintained power through fear and lies. Today, humanity stands against this tyranny. We do not fight against the peoples of the galaxy, only against those who would oppress them. Join us in building a true galactic community based on cooperation and respect. The message ended with a simple warning, repeated in all languages. Military installations will be targeted. Escape now. Throughout Council space, Lieutenant Martinez's network spread the warning. Billions of ordinary Council citizens evacuated from military bases and government centers. Most had never questioned the Elders' authority before, but the evidence was undeniable. The system they had trusted had built its power on genocide. Not all Council forces stood down. Some, loyal to the Elders, or simply following orders, launched counterattacks against human positions. The battles were brief but intense. Human quantum phase technology proved devastatingly effective, but Earth forces suffered losses as well. On the Council homeworld, as confusion and rebellion spread, the remaining Elders activated their final defense, a massive fleet of automated harvesters programmed to attack Earth directly. As the planet-killing ships emerged from hidden bases, Captain Foster's fleet moved to intercept them. The battle for Earth, and the future of the galaxy, had begun. The automated harvester fleet moved through space toward Earth, massive ships designed for a single purpose: to strip a planet of resources and life. Captain Greg Foster watched them approach on his command ship's display. His fleet seemed tiny, in comparison, but size wasn't everything. All ships prepare quantum phase weapons, he ordered. Target the lead vessels first. As the harvesters came within range, the human ships fired. Beams of blue-white energy struck the massive Council vessels. For a moment, Nothing seemed to happen. Then the lead harvesters began to shimmer, becoming partly transparent as they shifted slightly out of normal space-time. But the automated ships had defenses the humans hadn't encountered before. After the initial shock, the harvesters adapted, their hulls glowing with a strange purple energy that fought against the phase shift. "They're resisting the quantum effect," reported Foster's weapons officer. "The elders must have installed countermeasures." Foster gritted his teeth. "Switch to conventional weapons. All ships focus fire on their propulsion systems." The battle for Earth had begun in earnest, and it wasn't going as smoothly as the humans had hoped. Across Council space, the situation was just as complex. The broadcast exposing the Elders' crimes had thrown the galactic community into chaos. On some worlds, citizens rose up against Elder representatives. On others, loyal Council forces maintained control through fear and force. On Harmony Station, engineer Olivia Wilson led a mixed group of humans and sympathetic Council species through the corridors toward the central control room. The paralysis virus had worn off faster than expected on some Elders, and they were trying to regain control of the station. "This way," she called, checking the station map she had memorized over years of secret work. "The main communication array is just ahead." Behind her, a Zix engineer named Tilcat clicked his mandibles nervously. "The Elders have ruled for thousands of years. Can they truly be defeated in a single day?" "Not defeated," Olivia corrected. "Exposed. Once the truth is known, everything changes." In the diplomatic district of the Council homeworld, Lieutenant Sharon Martinez coordinated evacuation efforts. Thousands of ordinary Council citizens filled the streets, confused and frightened by the revelations about their leaders. "This way to the safe zones," Sharon called out in multiple languages. "Human forces will not target civilian areas." A Morcellan approached her, skin shimmering with anxiety colors. "Is it true? Have the Elders been destroying developing civilizations all this time?" "Yes," Sharon said simply. "My own world was next, but we discovered the truth in time, and now everyone can know it too." The Morcellan's colors shifted to a deep blue of sorrow. "The Elders told us my homeworld's sister planet was destroyed by natural disaster. Now I wonder." On Mars, Commander Evans monitored the battle near Earth. The quantum phase technology was still effective against most Council ships, but the Harvester fleet had clearly been designed with special protections. The human fleet was holding them back, but at a cost. "We need to try something else," Evans told his team. "The backup plan: send the signal to Dr. Johnson." In his laboratory orbiting Jupiter, Dr. Peter Johnson received the message. The biological countermeasure against the Elders needed to be deployed more widely. Johnson had prepared for this possibility. He loaded the virus into special delivery drones and launched them toward the Harvester fleet. Back on Earth, Admiral Harrison and Commodore Susan Miller watched the battle from their command center. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy, some good, some bad. "The Zix fleet has officially declared against the Elders," Susan reported. "They're moving to support our positions in the Orion sector, and the Morcellan worlds are in open revolt." Harrison nodded. "But the Elders still control significant forces, and the Harvester fleet is proving tougher than we expected." Susan pointed to a new signal appearing on their display. "Look, Johnson's drones are approaching the Harvester fleet." The small, fast drones slipped past the battle lines and attached themselves to the Harvester ships. Within minutes, they began releasing the specially engineered virus into the ship's life support systems. The Harvesters were automated, but they still carried Elder controllers who could override the systems if necessary. As the virus took effect, the Harvester fleet's coordination began to falter. Individual ships broke formation, their attacks becoming disorganized and ineffective. Captain Foster's fleet pressed the advantage, using conventional weapons to disable the Harvester's propulsion and weapons systems. 7 hours after the human operation began, the tide of battle turned decisively. The Harvester fleet was neutralized. Across Council space, more and more species declared against the Elders, inspired by humanity's unexpected strength and the undeniable evidence of the Elders' crimes. 1 week later, Representatives from all council species convened for an unprecedented open assembly aboard Harmony Station. The elders, now contained and powerless, were brought in to face questions from those they had ruled and deceived for millennia. Commodore Susan Miller, now serving as Earth's primary diplomat, addressed the assembly. For too long, the galaxy has lived under the shadow of deception and fear. The elders built their power on the destruction of countless civilizations and the enslavement of those who remained. Today, we have the chance to build something better. Injiro proposed a new structure, a true federation where technological and cultural exchange would be genuine, with no species holding dominance over others. Her proposal included the immediate liberation of 17 worlds previously designated as harvest candidates by the elders. Many council species embraced the human vision. Others, having benefited from the old power structure, resisted. The disagreements led to a brief but intense galactic civil conflict. It lasted only 3 weeks, ending when the combined forces of Earth, the Zix, the Morcellans, and the liberated worlds demonstrated that the old ways were finished. Admiral Harrison addressed the first assembly of the new Galactic Federation 1 month later. Deception and domination will always eventually fail against cooperation and truth, he told the representatives of 47 worlds. We nearly destroyed each other through mistrust. Now we must build something worthy of the lives lost, reaching this moment. In a ceremony marking the new era, the representatives signed the Galactic Charter aboard the station, now renamed Unity. The document began with words that would spread across the galaxy. We recognize that diversity creates strength, that knowledge freely shared creates wisdom, and that the greatest frontiers can only be crossed together. The stars belong to no single species, but to all who look up in wonder. As the ceremony concluded, Grixal approached Susan Miller. I never imagined such an outcome when I sent that warning, he said quietly. Susan smiled. You showed us that even within the council, there were those who valued truth over power. Without that knowledge, we might have seen all council species as enemies. And what happens now? Grixal asked. Susan looked out the viewport at the stars. Beyond. Now we explore together as equals. There's a whole universe waiting.